Some songs are just entertainment, but others become history, and one of the most unforgettable of them all begins with a chorus you already know.
Waka Waka, Zangaléwa,
You've heard these words before. Maybe you sang them at a football match, maybe you danced to them at a wedding, or maybe you shouted them while Shakira performed at the 2010 World Cup. But here's the truth. This song wasn't created for the world stage. It began as a local joke, a soldier's chant in the heart of Cameroon, a tune never meant for fame, yet destined for the world. The story of Zangaléwa begins in the muddy parade grounds of Cameroon. It began as a soldier's chant, a playful mockery, a song that was never meant to go worldwide, and yet it became one of Africa's most powerful cultural exports. This song has traveled across villages, cities, nations, and continents. It has united Africans, comforted the diaspora, and sparked controversy when it was borrowed without credit by one of the world's biggest pop stars. This is not just a story of a song. It's a story of laughter, memory, of protest, of pride. This is the untold story of Zangaléwa. Every great song has a story, and the story of Zangaléwa begins in Cameroon in the 1980s. Cameroon was a lively place back then. Its capital, Yaoundé, was buzzing with life. Music floated through the streets. Makossa was dominating the radios. Bikotsi was keeping dancers busy, and high life sounds from neighboring countries spilled across the borders. But in the middle of all this music, something unusual was born. A funny, playful, and yet powerful song. The creators were not your typical pop stars. They were a group of Cameroonian soldiers who also loved music. Their leaders, Jean-Paul Zerbella, was a talented drummer and a man with a sharp sense of humor. Along with his fellow servicemen, he formed a group called Golden Sounds in 1984. Golden Sounds didn't dress like your ordinary musicians. When they performed, they wore exaggerated military uniforms. They stuffed pillows under their shirts to make big fake bellies, painted their faces, blew whistles, and marched like clowns. The moment they walked on stage, people burst out laughing, even before a single note was played. But behind the comedy, there was something deeper. Their music was satire. It carried messages about society, politics, and human behavior, and their biggest masterpiece was Zangaléwa. The song blended African military chants with street language. It was call and response style, one voice leading and the group answering back. This was something Africans across the continent understood instantly. It was catchy, simple, and perfect for crowds. The lyrics weren't just random sounds. They teased lazy people who always depended on others, mocked opportunists who bragged too much, and even poked fun at certain corrupt behaviors in society. It was music that entertained, but also reminded people of their daily realities. And then came the chorus. These words didn't need translation. They were rhythms, they were sounds, they were energy. Even if you didn't know the meaning, you could sing them. That's why children loved it, teachers loved it, soldiers loved it, and soon the whole of Cameroon loved it. When Golden Sounds performed Zangaléwa live, the atmosphere was electric. People danced wildly, laughed at exaggerated costumes, and shouted the chorus so loud their voices cracked. Zerbella once said in an interview, and I quote, "We wanted people to laugh, but also to listen. The humor was the sugar. The message was the medicine." End of quote. The group's success went beyond Cameroon. They were invited to perform in neighboring countries. Each time they were shocked to find audiences already singing along. Little did they know, this small idea born in the barracks of Cameroon would soon become a song that traveled across Africa and later the world at large. To understand why Zangaléwa became so powerful, we must look at its roots. African soldiers have always used music. During colonial times, when African troops fought under French and British command, they marched with songs. The chants helped them keep rhythm, lift their spirits, and build unity. After independence, these chants didn't disappear. They became part of military culture across the continent. Golden Sounds took this tradition and turned it into something new. They transformed soldiers' marching chants into a stage performance for civilians. It was the first time everyday people could dance to rhythms of the barracks. The sound was unmistakable. The drums carried echoes of village celebrations. The whistles reminded people of parades, and the call and response made the audiences feel included, like they were part of the performance itself. But what really hooked people was the message. Africans recognized themselves in the song Zangaléwa. The song Zangaléwa poked fun of politicians who promised but never delivered. The costumes made it even funnier. Imagine walking into a hall and seeing men in oversized boots, fake bellies and painted faces marching like clumsy soldiers. People couldn't stop laughing, but while laughing, they also understood the hidden truth, that the song was mocking real-life characters in society. Very quickly, Zangaléwa grew from being a stage act into a national treasure. It was everywhere. On radio, DJs played it daily and callers requested it non-stop. In schools, teachers used it during assemblies and students sang it during break time. On the streets, kids whistled the chorus while playing football in neighborhoods. At weddings, women danced to it in colorful outfits, singing the chorus in unison. In the army, soldiers adopted it back into training drills, closing the loop from where it started. It wasn't just a hit song anymore, it had become part of Cameroon's cultural identity, and soon it started to cross borders. Cameroonians traveling to Nigeria, Ivory Coast, and Gabon brought the song with them. Migrants sang it in markets, bus stations, and bars. Local musicians in those countries covered it, putting their own spin on the rhythm. Bella himself once admitted, and I quote, "We never imagined the song would leave Cameroon, but when we traveled to other African countries, people already knew it. That was when we realized this song belonged to Africa now." End of quote. From one small group of musicians in Cameroon, Zangaléwa grew into a continent-wide anthem loved by millions. After its release in Cameroon, Zangaléwa quickly spread across borders. Remember, this was before YouTube, before Spotify and other streaming platforms, TikTok, and even before CDs were common in every home. The song traveled the old-fashioned way, through people. Soldiers carried it with them as they trained in different African countries. Truck drivers played it as they crossed borders, and school kids learned it from their teachers who remembered it from their own childhoods. In Nigeria, it became part of schools' assemblies. Children stood in lines under hot sun, clapping and marching to the rhythms of Zangaléwa. Teachers used it to keep the kids energized. In Ghana, the military added it to their parades. The call and response made it perfect for soldiers on the move. In Ivory Coast and Congo, comedians turned it into a stage performance, dressing up like Zangaléwa band with fake pot bellies and funny costumes. The crowd roared with laughter every time. In South Africa, it was played on radio shows and at public events long before Shakira's version. What made the song powerful was that it didn't belong to one country anymore. It became Pan-African. Whether you were West African, Central African, or Southern African, the rhythm was the same. Ask anyone who grew up in Africa in the 80s or 90s and even the early 2000s, and they will tell you Zangaléwa was everywhere. When Africans left their home countries and moved abroad to Europe, America, and beyond, they didn't just carry food, clothes, and family stories. They carried their music, and one of the songs they carried was Zangaléwa. In Paris, Cameroonian and Congolese immigrants played it at house parties in the suburbs. At African weddings, the moment that drum beat started, the dance floor filled up. In London, African student associations played it during cultural nights. People who had never been to Cameroon joined the dance because the chorus was so easy. In New York and Toronto, the diaspora used the song at African Independence Day celebrations. Parents would sing it while their kids laughed and tried to copy the dance steps. For many in the diaspora, Zangaléwa wasn't just music, it was a memory. It reminded them of their childhood, of being back home, of simpler times. It was the sound of belonging. Even non-Africans joined it. Caribbeans, Latinos, and Europeans who spent time with African friends knew the song too, because once the chant started, nobody could resist. The diaspora kept Zangaléwa alive outside of Africa, and years later when Shakira sang it, Africans abroad were first to shout, "Wait a minute, that's our song," because they knew it from the start. They knew the rhythm. They knew it was a rhythm that they grew up with. Before we dive into the Shakira's controversy, let's rewind. How did Zangaléwa, a Cameroonian soldier's chant, even reach Latin America in the first place? The answer lies in the port city of Barranquilla, Colombia in the 1980s. Barranquilla has always been known as the beating heart of Colombian carnival. Music from all over the world, African drums, Caribbean salsa, Caribbean soca, cumbia, and even Middle Eastern sounds flowed into the city through sailors, travelers, and festivals. And sometimes in the mid-1980s, among these sounds, Zangaléwa landed there. The song's journey to Colombia is a story of migration and cultural exchange. Some say it was carried by West African soldiers who trained with Latin American troops. Others say it came through DJs and vinyl collectors who loved African rhythms. But what we know for sure is that once Zangaléwa hit Barranquilla, the city embraced it. Some of you might ask, why Barranquilla? Because the city already had a deep love for African music. Afro-Colombian communities along the Caribbean coast felt connected to the rhythm, the whistles, the call and response, the drums. It reminded them of their own traditions, and when Zangaléwa played at the carnival, it fit right in like it had always belonged. In fact, by the late 1980s, Zangaléwa was a carnival favorite in Barranquilla. People danced, laughed, and sang the chorus without even knowing the Cameroonian words. For Colombians, it became part of their party culture, an anthem of joy and satire. And here's the twist. This is where a young girl named Shakira, growing up in Barranquilla, first heard Zangaléwa. Long before she became a superstar, she was just another local child dancing to the rhythms of carnival. The song was already in her world. So fast forward to 2010 when Shakira was chosen to perform for the FIFA official World Cup song. She reached back into her Barranquilla childhood and pulled out Zangaléwa. She reimagined it as Waka Waka. At first, the world loved it. It was catchy, it was global, it became an instant anthem. But then came the controversy. Many Africans were shocked and upset because the song's origins were barely mentioned. To them, this wasn't just catchy chorus, it was cultural history, born in Cameroon by golden sounds. The backlash grew strong enough that FIFA and Shakira's team had to respond. Eventually, Shakira publicly acknowledged that the song was adapted from Zangaléwa and credited the original creators.
But the story of this song is unbelievable. I heard this song, I heard the original chorus to this song when I was, probably 10, 11 years old. It's originally an African song, and it was a huge hit in Colombia. Don't ask me why, but I used to love this song, and I kind of grew up with this song in my head and wanting to do something with it. And one day, when the whole idea of participating in the World Cup emerged, I just thought of this song, and I wrote an entire new verse to it and a new bridge, and worked on the production, and it became the most important song of my life.
Reports confirmed that a deal was reached between Shakira's team and Golden Sounds, ensuring that the Cameroonian group received recognition and royalties for their work. For Africans, this was a bittersweet moment. On one hand, millions of people were finally singing a piece of African heritage at the biggest sporting event in the world. On the other hand, many felt the true creators, which were Golden Sounds, were hidden in the shadows. One Cameroonian journalist wrote at the time, and I quote, "It is a strange feeling to hear the world singing your song with so much joy, but not even knowing it came from your people." End of quote. And that is why Shakira's version of Zangaléwa is remembered with both pride and controversy. It became a World Cup anthem, but also a reminder of how easily African music can be borrowed without recognition. Despite the controversy, one thing is clear: Shakira's version turned Zangaléwa into a truly global anthem, and while the debate about credit still lingers, it also reignited interest in the original Golden Sound song, bringing it back into the spotlight after decades.
You're a good soldier, choosing your path. Make yourself up, dust yourself off, back in the side. You're on the front line, everyone's watching. You know we're serious, we're getting closer, this isn't over.
In Africa, songs are never just songs. They carry meaning, history, and messages. Zangaléwa was no exception. The group originally used it as satire, mocking laziness, mocking corruption, mocking people who brag too much. But as it spread, it picked up new meanings. In politics, the song became a tool of resistance. At rallies, crowds sang it to mock corrupt leaders. The funny dances, the whistles, the exaggerated costumes. It was comedy, but it was also truth, a reminder that power can be laughed at. In the military, the song became popular. Soldiers used it to motivate themselves during long marches and drills. Its call and response format made it perfect for keeping rhythm in tough times. In football stadiums, fans sang it to cheer their teams. The energy of the chants made crowds louder and more united, cheering on to their teams. In schools, kids used it during inter-house sports, laughing and marching with joy. The song's message was clear: Africans' life is tough, but humor and music can turn struggles into celebration. That's why Zangaléwa is more than just entertainment. It's a cultural weapon, a reminder of resilience, a laughter in the face of hardship. The story of Zangaléwa doesn't end in the 1980s or in the 1990s, or even with the Shakira controversy. The song is still alive today. It is a living proof that music can outlast the moment it was created in. Even today, more than 40 years later, Zangaléwa's chant is still sung in schools across Africa. Children who weren't even born when the song was first recorded are now dancing and laughing to its rhythms, just like their parents and grandparents did. That's how you know a song is legendary. It becomes tradition. In football stadiums, you will still hear echoes of Zangaléwa. Fans belt it out as a rallying cry. It's not just about music anymore. It's about unity, energy, and pride. Then there's a dance. The funny exaggerated costume of Golden Sounds may have sparked laughter in the 1980s, but today, the Zangaléwa dance has been reinvented in countless ways. Young dancers, TikTok creators, and cultural groups have put their own twist on it, proving that the song is just as fresh now as it was decades ago. In fact, if you go online, you will find hundreds of videos. Kids in Nigeria, teenagers in Ghana, students in Cameroon, even dance crews in Europe and the US, all moving to Zangaléwa. The rhythm is timeless. And let's not forget the DJs. African DJs and international producers have sampled and remixed Zangaléwa again and again, from Afrobeat to Amapiano, from club tracks in Lagos to festival sets in Paris. The sound keeps finding its new life. One Cameroonian music journalist once said, and I quote, "You can't kill a song like Zangaléwa. It's not just melody, it's a feeling. As long as Africans gather, laugh and dance, this song will be there." And he's right. The song isn't frozen in the past. It's breathing in the present. It's part of weddings, schoolyards, carnivals, and even digital trends. It's the kind of song that refuses to grow old. This truly is the legacy of Zangaléwa, a sound that will keep marching, keep laughing, and keep uniting long after we are all gone. When all is said and done, one truth rings louder than the drums. Zangaléwa is more than a song. It is memory, it is laughter, pride, and Africa's rhythm shared with humanity. What began as a playful chant among Cameroonian soldiers grew into a song that made the whole continent laugh, dance, and unite. From parade grounds to schoolyards, From weddings to football stadiums, Zangaléwa reminded us that music can carry memory, identity, and power. And though the song later became famous worldwide through Shakira's Waka Waka, we must never forget the true creators, the Golden Sounds, later known simply as Zangaléwa. Jean-Paul Zerbella and his group gave Africa something priceless, a song that outlived borders, language, and generations. They proved that even humor, rhythm, and satire could hold the weight of history. They showed us that African music doesn't need permission to be global. So let us celebrate the creators, the storytellers, the musicians who turned a soldier's chant into an anthem of unity. Because long after we are gone, the beat of Zangaléwa will still echo, reminding the world that Africa sings not only for itself, but for all of humanity. Golden Sounds, we salute you. If you love content like this, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and see you on the next.